Life Team Podcast with the theology of the body for change.
We have our second question in this segment. It is, how do you re-find God when you've thought you've lost Him?
Re-find God.
Re-find.
Okay, yeah, all right.
So, Anna, when you feel like you've messed up, what are the steps that you can take?
I mean, for me, like, the one thing when I was especially going through a transition of, I, like, know He's real, but do I, like, believe in Him and that stuff, the one thing I would say is He is there for me. Like, I remember looking back in my journal a couple days ago and seeing something that said, I know that I don't always believe in you, but I know you're always there. And I think knowing that and, like, being able to talk with Him and almost pray with Him and have Him be more like a friend who every once in a while you see, but it's always there for you to start is really important, like having that prayer buddy almost.
Yeah. And prayer can be as simple as, God help me. I'm sorry. I messed up. Please help me. Please let me, find you again. Please show yourself to me.
Yeah, even like simple prayers, He knows what you're talking about, and He will help you with that, even if you can't put it in words. He knows. So
I think it's important that people realize that your relationship with God kind of is a cycle of almost like your own hypocrisy and God's forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
because we kind of make advances, we kind of move toward God, we make some good decisions, do the right thing, whatever, and then maybe because of our fallen nature, we fall into some particular sin or another. And then we kick ourselves and we think, oh, well, I'm not worth it, I'm not good enough, God's going to be mad at me and the whole bit, and then we kind of keep staying down instead of getting back up. And the church, through the church, has given us reconciliation to kind of lift us back up, dust us off, and get us started again, And like a true father, when my kids were little and we had to teach them how to walk, we would hold them up at first and we'd say, okay, we'd let them go for a few seconds, they'd kind of stagger and fall into your arms, and then they'd step forward a little bit, and eventually they could actually stand up by themselves and maybe walk a little, and then you would kind of go and get a little further away from them and say, come here, and they would walk to you and fall into your arms, and then eventually you go even further away, and you start doing like the hide and seek game, where you go a little further away and call them. And I think that's how God works, is that He treats us like a father with kids, but He's doing that spiritually, where at first He really holds you up and He kind of really gives you a strong, basis and foundation and everything, and then He kind of says, okay, I'm over here, come here, we may fall on the way, but He doesn't have any anger or hatred towards us, just like you wouldn't towards your own children, just because they're learning how to walk. He realizes that we have a fallen nature. He realizes that we have to learn to know Him and to love Him and to serve Him. So He kind of sets that up for us. So as people say, I feel like I've lost God, how do I re-find Him? The first answer would probably be prayer, like you were saying, just a basic prayer. Lord, I'm sorry, help me, forgive me. It seems like you're not here. That's like that whole footsteps in the sand thing, whatever. If you feel like God is not there, chances are you've moved away from Him, not Him moving away from you. So a real quick prayer to basically say, I know you're here, like Anna's saying, you're in the air that I breathe, you're in my every heartbeat. God exists because God's the creator of all things, So I pray immediately, even if I can't perceive you, God, show me you exist, show me you're here, forgive me for my sins. And then move into something like reading the Bible, which would be something simple like the Gospel of John that's easy to understand, the first reading in the Bible to get into maybe. Definitely making use of the sacraments. If you need to get a reconciliation because it's, say, a mortal sin or whatever, make use of the sacraments the church gave you. Then, attend Mass on the weekends as you should, and then maybe even once during the week or whatever. You can do like a daily Mass or something. Certainly Eucharistic adoration. There's places like we have here at St. Joan of Arc. Monday nights at 6 o'clock is our teen hour that we have for Eucharistic adoration, to be near God physically there in the chapel. Other devotions like the Rosary, the Divine Mercy Chaplet, things like that certainly would help. And then I would say ultimately volunteering for something, yourself seeing a need and rising up to meet that need. Following Jesus by doing what He did and giving of yourself is going to help you to find Him.
And don't expect big revelation. When we ask God to reveal Himself to us, it can be in the smallest ways. It can be something reminding you of something else, of somebody else that you love, and something becomes present. So the more we pay attention to these small little messages, the more He reveals Himself, and almost the brighter He becomes.
I would say even that it's more often that you see God in the little things.
Yeah.
More often that he sort of, I wouldn't say hides in them, but he encodes himself in his nature. I think that's how Thomas Aquinas puts it. So you see God in these other things, you know. It's not pantheism. It's not saying the tree is my God, but to be able to look at the tree and say, oh, the fact that a person of God created this for a certain reason, and it grows a certain way, and it has certain functions with photosynthesis and creating oxygen and everything else, is all part of a mindset to make something good in the world that we can all enjoy and helps us live, you know. So all of those things to kind of see God in there is a big part of it.
And volunteering, you mentioned volunteering about reaching out and serving other people. There's so many times where you may come across somebody and you just get this sense that that's a really special person or that's a really holy person. And it may not be that that person has done anything extravagant or big. It may just be a sense or a feeling. And I see that as God revealing himself. That is the Jesus in you recognizing the Jesus in them. You know, so the more you give of yourself and the more you meet those needs, the more God does show himself in different people.
Yeah, I think the more open you are to the fact that like God's around, the more you will start seeing him in the little things that maybe you've seen a million times in your daily routine, but it is now something brand new because you're looking at it with a different perspective.
In my family, we call them God incidences.
Mm-hmm.
There are no coincidences, there's God incidences. And also, use your guardian angels a lot. Pray to your guardian angels and pray for your guardian angels, because a lot of times they will help reveal things with you also. They're always there. God always gives them their presence around you to guard you and light the way. So when you're feeling that loss or that, that sense of hopelessness or where you're not feeling God in your life, it can just be something easy as, guardian angel, please guide me. And you may feel a sense of warmth, or you may feel, somebody may come across that will give you a nice smile that changed your day. So.
All good stuff. So we'll be right back after this break, and we're going to have one more question when we get back.
We'll be back with more True Life Teen Podcast with the Theology of the Body for Teens.